me take you to the nearest star. I'm your vehicle, baby.
Hello, Mr. Overmeyer.
Evening, gentlemen.
BroadcastSports.net, Coach's Corner.
Back at it.
Heckin' King just rolling like we always do, coming back from a little sunshine. I was in New Smyrna Beach, Florida.
You were.
You were where?
I was in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
So what do you say? So don't eat the chicken? Or don't eat the green sauce on the chicken?
I don't know. I got a little what you call souvenir from one of the restaurants. It took me about a day to get rid of. But, yep, the resort was great. We went off resort and went out to eat, and I got a little present the next morning. So I don't know what I found, but it found me.
So I'm not sure it's the chicken. I'm kind of thinking it's the green stuff that was on the chicken.
They said either green sauce or red sauce, and I said green sauce. I guess that was the wrong choice.
God, I feel bad for you, man. In New Smyrna Beach, the weather was awesome, 85 on average, a lot of sun, a lot of great food. Monica and me just went. None of the boys went this year, so it was a nice time for me and her just to kind of reconnect and hang out a little bit. But I will tell you this much, and I'm sure you know this too. Them women, all they want to do is lay out in the sun, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I took the blankets out at 6:30 a.m. to make sure we get the right chairs. So that was my husbandly duty. Some of our friends that normally go with us were either already there or had different breaks. So this year that was my job. I was in charge of taking the towels down and putting them on the chair. Save the right chairs.
I hope sweet Monica is not listening, because I said, honey, I'm sleeping till about 10. I ain't getting up and putting any towels on any chairs. And if you want to do that, go right ahead. Now that she's going to hear that Patrick J. King went and put towels on the chairs, I'm in deepness, man.
Well, there was other, there was some trade-offs.
That
was the trade. That was
one
of my trade-offs.
You.
I did that and then went back to bed for a little bit. And I didn't say I was awake. I might have been asleep still at 10 o'clock. It might have been my first nap.
That's what I like. So you know what? I want to start this show off today with, I think, something really, really sad, and a really sad state of affairs, not only for our country, but somebody we know. There was a bank shooting in Louisville, Kentucky, just I believe it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. It might have been yesterday, where five people were killed, maybe 6 or 7 people injured, and so whenever we hear these kind of stories, we never really put it together. We never really think about who the shooter was, why the shooting happened, or any of those kind of things. In this particular story, we know the shooter. The shooter was a young man named Connor Sturgeon, and a 24-year-old kid who was employed at the bank. And I can only speculate that maybe there was some termination going to happen or whatever. But Connor Sturgeon's father is Todd Sturgeon. And Todd Sturgeon was the head basketball coach at Floyd Central High School.
Yes.
And before that, he was the head basketball coach at University of Indianapolis.
I'm connecting dots right now.
And Todd is the salt of the earth. And so obviously, when you talk about this, there's just a lot of empathy for everybody involved in this, and so my thought is usually when these things happen, and you have a shooter who's disgruntled, who grew up in a bad situation, who's had a tough life, or things didn't go well for him. In this scenario, you have a shooter who was brought up.
Was a coach's kid.
In seemingly a good life. Mm-hmm. Now we don't know what went on behind the scenes, but you would have to think that he was raised very, very well and had that mentality of being a coach's son and an athlete. Was a starter for Floyd Central. Joey Luce, the head coach at Jeffersonville at the time. Joey and I talked about him today, and maybe averaged about 10 points a game. But then when you see that and you hear about that, man, your heart just sinks, and it's a very, very, very sad day, because at the end of the day, when those scenarios happen, then your heart breaks for everybody involved. But in this particular scenario, when this can happen with a good kid,
people, right?
A good kid, not a kid who was raised in a bad scenario, or who had bad ideas, or who was involved in a cult or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really scary thing in our society.
It just shows you this mental health issues that we keep talking about really have no socioeconomic boundaries.
No, exactly.
Rich, poor, white, black, purple, green, whatever. It's very democratic. It can touch anybody, and obviously this has.
Yes, and obviously with Connor Sturgeon being the shooter, he was killed in the ensuing gun battle, as were 5 other people. So I just wanted to touch base with that. I wanted our listeners to know, and maybe say, and maybe, you know, I mean, I said a little prayer for Todd Sturgeon and his family.
Right.
Because I know.
Don't be so quick to pass judgment on this.
Because I know Todd, and I also said a prayer for all of the victims involved.
Exactly.
So I kind of wanted to bring that up and get that out of the way, because as everybody knows, our podcast is about fun also.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a lot of fun doing this.
Right.
We have a lot of fun sharing our opinions. And so I think we can do that now. I just gotta ask you a question. South Bend, Washington, the Reynolds girls, Milo went to Maryland.
Right. Two of the Maryland girls just got drafted yesterday in the WNBA.
Well, so Mila plays, I don't know, about 114 minutes. Doesn't play a lot. Scores a point a game. She is leaving. She's going to transfer from Maryland. Her sister, Amaya Reynolds, who had surgery, and if not for the fact that she broke her foot in a certain area, would have led Washington to a second state title in a row.
Very possible.
But so Amaya is out of her letter of intent to go to Maryland.
Right.
So the Reynolds girls are on the move.
They are, and now you have not heard where yet. So you can speculate anything, but right now they have not made a decision, as far as I know, about what their next choice is going to be.
And so you ask yourself, was it not the right fit? Now through the recruiting process, you get to know the coach, you get to know the roster, you get a feel for what's going to happen. You've been to their practices, you've seen how they practice. So, and I could be out of line saying this. I've been out of line most of my life, but I could be out of line saying this. Playing time.
It's all about playing time.
Playing time.
I don't think that's a secret. She didn't get to play this year. She thought she was going to play.
And the ability of young people, I don't know, maybe to sit back and say, I'm a freshman. I got to try. I got to work my way in. I got to learn how college basketball is played. And I have to work my way in, and not just with Mila. I think with a lot of young players today, I don't think they're allowed to be coached anymore.
Well, and the one and done attitude in college is still prevalent, where they're going someplace where they want to play immediately as a freshman.
And I don't think that they want to be coached hard. So back a few years ago, before all of the name, image, and likeness, and all of the Pete Bell stuff coming in, and all of the Neon Wants a Car stuff coming in. So you either played and you listened to that coach, because if you transferred, you had to sit out.
You had to sit out a year.
So now you don't have to sit out. And now, if the coach hollers at you, and if the coach says, hey, King, quit shooting because you can't shoot.
Right.
You look around and you say, you talking about me?
Right.
I'm out of here.
I'm leaving.
I'm out of here. Somebody will like me.
I'm going to go someplace that's going to let me shoot.
Now, I don't want any of the fans of the Reynolds girls to think that that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because I love Steve Reynolds. I think the world of him and his family.
Yeah. He's done a good
They've raised
job.
their girls the right way. He's a great coach. I'm just saying that this is happening in college sports today.
In a general picture. Yep.
Yeah. And another thing I think that's happening is kids are staying in college more now. I think.
Yep, they sure are.
I mean,
there's a couple reasons.
And I think the 3 hots and a count reason is still prevalent because you're making money now. We have the name, image, and likeness money,
right?
And some of the kids are making more money staying in college than they would be going to the draft. And we all know this. If you're drafted in the second round, you're probably going to the G League or D League, whatever it's called.
Yep, in the men's for sure.
And you're not making any money. So why not stay in college, get your 3 hots and a cot, you got your little girlfriend there, you're comfortable, you're making NIL money. I just saw today where Filipowski, the 6'10" freshman that could have gone out in the draft and could have been a number 1 pick, or not a number 1 pick, but a first round pick. He said, "Nah," he said, "I ain't ready. I'm going to stay in college, and I'm going to get ready. I'm going to let John Shire coach me up a little bit, and I'm going to stay, and I'm going to do this for another year." Where Jalen Hood-Schifrino, who at IU, sure, he went for 35 against Purdue and played well.
And played well.
And everybody knew that if he went to his right, he was dynamite. Now, if he gets to the NBA and in those NBA camps and those summer leagues, he ain't going to his right.
Well, and we'll see that here in about a month when they get in July, when the playoffs are over. He'll get to play in that rookie league and see what's going on. But I think you've brought up 2 very good points in 2 different directions we can go. With the men's programs at the college level, we are starting to get back to what I would think back in the 80s when players played for 4 years. And us old guys can remember those Big East games with Patrick Ewing and James Worthy and Mullins and those guys in the Big East, where those things were just battles because you had juniors and seniors that were staying all 4 years in the tournament. And that's why the 80s were so good for college basketball. And then as you got into the 90s, we got to the one and dones. And then we've been in the one and dones now for 20 years, and now that trend's starting to change as well. And I don't think it's because of COVID, even though COVID did allow some guys to have a 5th year and some of them a 6th year. We've got some guys that are 24 years old playing college basketball right now. And they're juniors and seniors, and they're very happy. And a lot of that then goes into the NIL money. And you've just said there's a lot of guys that are sitting there thinking, okay, if I go to the pros right now, I'm a late first round, early second. Okay, 1, can I make the team? And 2, what kind of contract am I going to get? If I stay another year in college, how much NIL money can I make? Do I want to transfer and go someplace else? And will that help me a year from now?
Yeah, I don't
And that's some of the stuff that's going on with the men's programs. And one of the things we'd like to do here in the next couple of weeks is talk to some of these college coaches and see some of the scrambles, because I keep reading where these mid-major teams, the coaches they're having to find out where their players are every day because people are calling their players every day, some of them saying, hey, come here, we'll offer you this, we'll offer you that. And they're having issues with that. To go along with that, how about the girls' programs? I think the women's programs, those ball games we saw last week with LSU and Iowa, that final game was the best watched game the girls have ever had. And I think women's basketball is in a spot right now they've never been in a good way. And the girls are making money. We just had the WNBA draft last night, and 2 names weren't there. The girl from Iowa, Caitlin wasn't there, and the girl from LSU. Neither one of them were in the draft. They're both sophomores, juniors, and 5 years ago they would have left early.
Yeah, without
and gone
question.
to the pros.
without question. And from their standpoint, the money they can make in the WNBA probably doesn't come close to touching what they can make in the NIL. So back to your point about some of the mid-major conferences, Michael Lewis does a great job at Ball State this past year. His team wins 20 games. He's got a player named Peyton Sparks.
And he loses the center.
And I don't know, maybe 6'10", a kid from Winchester, Indiana. How's a kid named Peyton Sparks come from Winchester, Indiana? I don't know. But so now all of a sudden, he thinks Peyton Sparks says, I'm going to go to IU.
I'm going to IU.
I'm going to IU. But here's my question about IU. If you're signing guys from the Mid-American Conference,
yeah,
is that setting you up for future Big Ten championships? Now they signed a 7-footer from Oregon,
right?
Kalel Ware,
and that's a big sign, right?
Well, no, he averaged 6 points a game though for Oregon.
Yeah. He sat on their bench.
So my point.
But he's a 7-footer.
So my point is IU signing great players, or are they signing people with maybe potential?
Potential?
I don't know. I read a great article about Mike Woodson, and a lot of the guys that played on the New York Knicks, because when Mike got fired at Atlanta, and then he became the Knicks head coach, he got fired. He had some success. He went back to the Knicks and was on Tom Thibodeau's staff. They interviewed probably 3 or 4 players on the Knicks, and to a man, they said Mike Woodson was one of the best coaches they ever played for. They said his communication skills, his ability for every player to know where he stood in the program, and to a man, they loved Mike Woodson. They loved playing for him. But it goes deeper than that now, because now Mike Woodson has got to get some players.
Now he's got to recruit. Yeah,
he's got to get some players.
Because his job with the Knicks, with his job with Atlanta, was not to go find players. The GMs did that.
No, exactly.
And they brought them players, said, here's your team, coach them up.
Exactly. So my point is, Peyton Sparks good enough to win you a Big Ten championship?
I agree. What are the other Big Ten teams thinking? I mean, were people fighting over him?
Is Kalel Ware, the 7-foot? No, he's big. Okay, 7 foot.
Right.
And playing in, from the West Coast, Oregon, is he good enough, averaging 6 points a game to come into IU?
Can he grow into that? Is he IU's Zach Edey? I don't know. Or did they get him so he can guard Zach Edey?
Speaking of Purdue, did Purdue come up with enough money to keep Zach Edey? That's the question, because is Zach Edey a bona fide NBA player? Is he a guy that's going to get drafted in the first round? And does he have a bona fide NBA career? Or if he doesn't have a bona fide NBA career, are they going to pony up the NIL money and say, Zach, hey, man, come back here.
Right.
We love you. People in Lafayette love you. Here's a couple mil.
Yes.
Enjoy life.
Are they going to be able to keep the others? Brandon Newman, he just left.
He got out of town quick because Purdue signed or recruited or signed Lance Jones, a transfer from Southern Illinois. Now,
and there again, you're bringing a kid in from the Missouri Valley to a Big Ten school.
Is a kid that averaged 13 points a game in the Missouri Valley. Is he a kid that's going to take your program to the next level?
Can he help be a third guard with those 2 freshmen?
Can he make shots? I mean, if Zach Edey comes back,
right?
Purdue's not going to play any different.
No, they're not.
I mean, and teams guarding them are not going to guard any different. As a matter of fact, the Farley Dickinson film ought to go on sale,
right?
Because everybody on Purdue's schedule should get a hold of that film.
That could be auctioned, couldn't it? That thing is to the highest bidder.
I should do a garage sale this summer and put that film on the market.
You could make some money. That's
well,
for sure.
because if Zach Edey comes back, they're not going to change the way they play, are they?
No, they're not.
And is Lance Jones a 28% 3-point shooter last year? Is he going to make a difference on that team?
Can he now shoot 38% who knows? Can he get better?
So there's a lot of questions about college basketball. Now I love your shirt, man.
Oh, you like that?
And because I know you went through Houston.
I was in Houston on game day.
And I know, so I know what happened on that shirt. Your lovely wife, Becky, said, "Hey, Pat, I buy you that shirt. You're going down to put the towels on the chairs for me, right?"
You're catching on.
And you said,
"You're catching on."
"I got you, baby."
Yeah, you're catching on.
So San Diego
And
State.
I was dumb enough to realize I'm thinking, okay, she's going to buy the shirt, but then it was my credit card.
She got you both ways, man.
So I wasn't that smart.
So I don't think there was any question that UConn was the best team in the Final Four.
I agree.
I don't think there's any question, John. Your thoughts? I don't think there's any question, John, that UConn was the best team in the Final Four.
No, I think so. I totally agree. They were blowing people out, all of them by 15 or more points. There was no way going to stop Danny Hurley and UConn. They were the best team there, absolutely.
They were double figures in the Sweet 16.
All the way through, I think all 6 rounds they were 15 or better on opponents. Who's going to stop them?
Yeah.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of a statistic, John, and you'll love this statistic. When UNLV won the national title with Jerry Tarkanian and the big boy Grandmama, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, they had won every game by a total of 20 points or better, with the exception of what game?
Ball State. My Ball State Cardinals.
The Ball State Cardinals.
And that arrow still goes through my heart, brother.
That was what? That was a Sweet 16 game.
That was
right?
a Sweet 16. Yep.
Probably. That was a late night game too, as I recall.
In Oakland, in Oakland, California, where the Warriors played.
That was one of those 10 o'clock games on the East Coast that we all have trouble staying awake for.
And a lot of people stayed awake for that because
sure they did.
That was the game that Billy Packer said that the Chandler Thompson's putback dunk over Larry Johnson was the best college dunk he had ever seen. And so we're down 2 now. Okay, we're down 2, maybe 5.7 seconds left, and we call a timeout. We have the ball on a side out, and it's me, Len Drake, Larry Eustace, and we're in the huddle with Coach Hunsaker, and I say, man, we got 2 great shooters, Greg Miller and Billy Butts. I say let's spread them out. Let's drive the ball to the basket. Let's kick to either G or Billy Butts, because even if we get to OT,
you're not going to win.
Vegas is still the better team.
Right.
So let's go for the W right now. The week before against Oregon State, Paris McCurdy, the kid out of Detroit, and his running mate in Detroit, Curtis Kidd, Paris scores a bucket with no time left, and then goes to make a free throw with no time left, and we beat Oregon State. And Dick says, "No, man." He says, "I gotta go with P. I gotta go with P. Let's see if P has some magic again." So we draw up a little bit of a set where Paris McCurdy is going to come off of a little bit of a down screen on the baseline. He's going to get the ball on the baseline. He's going to rip. He's going to drive. He's going to try and finish and get fouled. And make the free throws. He drives the baseline. The ball gets kicked off of his foot, ricochets to the top of the key. Our little guard from Lansing, Michigan, Mike Spicer, picks the ball up. Mike Spicer got a 16-foot J. Ain't nobody in front of him. It's from here to Mr. Overmeyer there. And all Mike got to do is rise up and make that J. And the game's going.
Just make a free throw.
Yeah, and the game's going to overtime. Instead, Spice tries to throw an alley-oop pass to Chandler, and the play gets mixed up, and we never end up getting a shot. But it's one of those deals where UConn was never really challenged this year, and Vegas was never challenged that year until they played the mighty Ball State Cardinals in the Sweet 16. And I know that game will stay with everybody and it still stays. I think about it all the time.
I think that's been 25 years, and you still know the details.
Yeah, no, I know. And
do you remember what you're supposed to bring home tonight? Milk and bread? Do you remember?
Oh, no, hell no. Hell no. Don't ask me what I'm supposed to bring home.
I got it in my pocket.
Yeah, no, I got it written down somewhere. But
ask me about that.
But no, ask me about the 85 Bears. Ask me about the 1963 Bears championship game.
No.
But I don't know. I got to go to the store to get milk.
Yeah, I know. I think if you remember.
Yeah. Hey, John, give us a question, man.
All right, we got some questions here from our viewers. This one comes from Tom. What do you guys think about Jimtown, Bremen, and John Glenn moving out of the NIC conference after next school year?
Where's Tom from?
He is from Mentone, down there where Tippy Valley is. They're going to be all going to join that a conference to be named later.
Yeah, so that's
How does that affect the NIC?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's just part of the shuffling. Enrollments are changing. Emphasis on sports is changing at certain schools. So there's some schools that are becoming more sports-minded simply because of the clientele of people that are coming in as they're getting bigger. And I think it's a good match. I personally never understood how Bremen, Jimtown, and John Glenn were in the NIC to start with. I mean, they had to go to a different, division for football. There's no way those people should be playing Elkhart and Penn in football, and they didn't. So they had to change that. Now, did it help with the minor sports? I don't know. You tell me.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, obviously, when you look at these schools, their reasoning is, one, because of the consolidation of Elkhart. So now you've got a big 6A school sitting at the top. You've got Penn in a 6A school. So you got two of the big ones. And now with all the uproar in South Bend about the potential of closing Clay and moving all those kids around, they don't want to end. Obviously, South Bend schools don't draw a gate. They're not getting anything out of gates at football games because South Bend schools don't draw anybody for any sport.
I really think, if you think about it, this conference will basically be, I wouldn't say a little brother of the Northern Lakes, but it's going to be a close cousin because it's basically the next school's enrollment size down, because the Northern Lakes is predominantly big 3s and 4A schools.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Where these schools are going to be predominantly 2A and medium-sized 3As. Are there any? There are no 4As in that group, is there?
No.
Okay. So you're looking at a 2A, 3A conference. I think it's a great idea, and they're basically the same geographic area as the Northern Lakes.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. Besides maybe some of the coaches thinking I'm going to get a W, and this from a basketball perspective. I mean, is Marcus Burton playing against Bremen, or is Declan Sullivan going to play against Jimtown? I mean, are those contests that bring out the best in both of those guys? Probably not.
Probably not.
And I don't think it's any good. I know this was a special year for Penn, but I don't think it's any good for Penn to beat Bremen, Jimtown, Glenn by 30 points.
No.
Now John Glenn was very representative.
Yeah.
I think Travis Hanna is a very good coach.
And that was a special team for them this year.
And he had his son, and his son could compete with any NIC team. I think what's going to have to happen with the NIC is really they have to see what's going to shake out in South Bend. They got to see if Clay is actually closing, and if that's actually going to happen. Where are we at with that, John? Where are we at with the vernacular about Clay closing?
They're going to have another public meeting to discuss this tomorrow night at Jackson Middle School. Then the board will vote on that proposal that has been made by this outside firm that's made all these proposals next Monday at the school board. So we should know more actually during our podcast next week if they're going to close Clay or not. And there's a lot of worry about that right now and a lot of opposition to that. There's a group in Clay Township's going to try to fight this legally and all the other stuff's going on. But, I think it's going to happen, guys.
Well, I don't think.
Let's think you're going to have, let's just say what if. You'll have 3 South Bend schools.
Yep.
You got 2 private schools, St. Joe Marion, there's 5. Penn makes 6. Elkhart 7. New Prairie 8.
8, yep.
There's an 8-team league.
There's an 8-team league.
Now, I don't know if any schools would leave the NLC to go into that league. I don't know if you could get any schools coming from the Duneland Conference or the region to come down and play in that league.
Was there a reason for LaPorte and City to come this way?
That would be the question that I would have, but I don't know. I don't see any reason why they would want to do that because their level of competition is really good up in the Duneland.
Right.
So I think you might be sitting with an 8-team league.
And that's not a bad thing. Eight's a number that can be worked with.
And I think that when you talk about Penn, they were invited several years ago to join the Duneland.
Right.
And they told the Duneland, no, thank you. We don't want to compete with you. And I know some of that is because majority of those Duneland schools are all in a different time zone.
All time zone
and you got situations with weeknight games where you're playing a 7:30 game. That's 8:30 Eastern time. I know you can adjust times, but Penn said no, thank you. They stayed in the NIC.
Well, and you're also talking about baseball games. You're talking about girls' tennis matches, boys' tennis matches.
all your sports.
That start at 3:30.
20 different sports.
So let's talk about this new league a little bit. Bremen, Jimtown, Glenn, Tippy Valley, LaVille, and Knox. I think that's a pretty competitive league, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me about Knox. I said, look what their football program. This is all football-based, guys. This is all got to be based on football.
So.
I think it is. And what Russ Radke's doing at Knox, turning that program around and being competitive. And look, I know Will just resigned, but what Hostrasser did at LaVille the last several years, how competitive they are. We know how good Bremen can be. Jimtown, football school. Tippy Valley's a football school. It makes a lot of sense.
Right. And the only negative I see here is Knox is in a different time zone.
Yes.
But people adjust. People adjust.
Half hour here or there, yeah.
And how far is it from Knox to Valley? Because I think that's the longest trip. So.
Well, I think it's really interesting. I think it's great sports talk. I think it's great for us talking heads to be able to come up with solutions. I know the athletic directors and the principals, they put a lot into this because I know how much went into Mishawaka leaving and joining the NLC, and how many surveys were out there, how many coaches meetings we had at Mishawaka. So I know they put a lot into it. And this won't take place next year. It'll take place the following year. So next year, you'll still have everything intact, because even if they vote to close Clay, that won't take place till the following year.
Correct, 24-25, and that's when this new conference would take over. So it's all kind of put all together.
Right.
Next question.
Give us another one. Yeah.
This one comes from Christopher down in Evansville, so down in the southern part of our state. And you guys will like this one.
I'm happy we had somebody from Evansville that
cares.
Listening. Yeah.
Listening tonight. Who is your individual pick for Mr. Basketball? Because that gets announced the next Monday.
Well, the one here,
ahead.
I noticed how regionalized it was when we were at the state finals. Listening to different coaches, splitting the state into thirds, because everybody north up here, it was all Marcus Burton.
Right.
Central part of the state is either Cathedral or Ben Davis players. It was either Booker or Dowdy, as far as Mr. Basketball is. And they kind of heard, they said, where Booker kind of didn't have the season they thought he was going to have.
Right.
And Dowdy was the best player on an undefeated state champion team. So there's a reason, they were good. And then you got to the southern part of the state, and they were talking about Linton Stockton, Joey Hart. I mean, he was such a big name down there. The problem I see down there, it's a 2A school. And if you look, there's only a couple 2A players on the Indiana All-Stars. He's one of them. And we've had, small school, All-Stars in the past. And we've had small school Mr. Basketball. As a matter of fact, way back when, from Southwestern, Steve Collier was Mr. Basketball our senior year, along with Roy Taylor, who was my teammate. We had never heard of Steve Collier. His dad was the coach at Hanover College. He was averaging 30-some a game. We had just barely heard of some guy named Larry Bird from Springs Valley, who made the All-Star team.
So let me ask you this question. Okay, being in Anderson, all right, because you and I graduated the same year. Did you ever hear of Ron Hecklinski being down in Anderson?
Hell no.
Are you kidding me?
Because we didn't play St. Joe anymore. We played St. Joe our sophomore year. Now, we'd heard of Abernathy and Laskowski, because we saw them come to the Wigwam when I was in junior high.
I know.
But
they were really
our
good,
junior year, we quit playing because that was the energy crisis. We dropped. If you look at the Anderson schedule back then, no more St. Joe. They filled it in with Carmel. We started playing Carmel that weekend on a Saturday night.
So here's my thoughts, guys. And call me Mr. Obvious, okay? Call me Mr. Obvious.
Okay, Mr. Obvious.
If Marcus Burton does not get Mr. Basketball, there should be an FBI investigation.
And
That's what I'm going to say to you right now.
I agree to you, and I'm going to tell you why he might not get it is because the Ben Davis coach is the All-Star coach.
Yes.
Will he have any influence on his player being, an influence on his player being Mr. Basketball?
Well, so in 2010, I was the Indiana All-Star coach, and Charlie Hall was the Indiana All-Star director at that time. Loved Charlie Hall, man.
Charlie's our age too.
Now, Charlie was a great coach at Kokomo, girls coach. Just an outstanding man. Now Mike Broughton is in charge of the Indiana All-Stars, but the head coach has no say in who Mr. Basketball is. Now the head coach does have a say when you're building a roster, and we'll talk about this roster in a minute or two because there are a couple of good players that I thought were left off of this All-Star team, but the head coach, and this year's head coach being Don Carlisle from the undefeated 33-0 Indiana Hoosiers. Oh, no, that was the Hoosiers in 76.
Yeah, 76.
This is Ben Davis.
and trivia. Remember we kept saying that the last undefeated team was the 90s with Oden and Connolly? That's wrong. My son, Scott, picked up 5 years ago, Warren Central was undefeated.
Yes, Chris Byers.
Yes.
Chris Byers' team was undefeated.
And he didn't let us know that during the broadcast?
No, he's told me several times since
He made us look like we are.
See,
pillars of the community.
Exactly. Yeah. I called you pillars. See, I don't call you the other word anymore. You're pillars now.
We're not slabs.
No. I didn't say that, by the way, folks.
We've progressed.
And Don Carlisle will be assisted by Brent Robston, who's at Frankton.
Yeah. I played golf with him last summer.
Great young man. And Shane Burkhart, who's the head coach at Evansville Boston.
And I know Shane, too.
Who's also from up around Marion.
He was Luce's assistant at Marion.
Yes. So I don't think that Don Carlisle has any say in Mr. Basketball, but I think what Marcus Burton did, averaged 36, 37 points a game, run the table, win the sectional, win the regional, be highly competitive.
Got to the Final Four,
getting beat by a Kokomo team that was really, really good with a 7-footer. Now, I don't know if at the next level at Notre Dame, and being a Notre Dame recruit, by the way.
Yes.
So let's not forget about the point that it's also where they're going to play next year. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be a Mr. Basketball going to Manchester College. Okay, and I mean, as much as
think about how many times guys have been IU and Purdue recruits would say, well, the only reason he was on the All-Stars because he's going to IU.
Yeah, so Marcus is going to Notre Dame, and I think we'll have a chance to play at Notre Dame with Micah Shrewsbury. So I think Marcus, far and away should be Mr. Basketball. And when I was involved with the McDonald's All-American game. Don't think that some of those players that made those teams were about where they were recruited to. Mm-hmm. There wasn't going to be a player that's going to IUPUI who averaged 40 points a game in the state of Indiana is going to IUPUI. He was not making the McDonald's All-American.
He didn't make the McDonald's team. No, he did not.
No, and it didn't matter if he deserved it or not. It's where you're going to play at the next level. And I think Marcus has all the bases covered because he is going to play at Notre Dame.
Right.
So, hey, speaking about the Indiana All-Stars,
let's talk about them.
Let's go down this list. Logan Imes from Zionsville, Zane Doherty from
Ben Davis. And he
33-0,
and he just asked for his release. And he was wasn't at a big school, I think, and just got his release so he can open up his recruiting again.
Well, so he was going to Valpo, and Valpo fired their coach, so he now is open. Logan Imes was going to help me out with that.
I'm drawing a blank.
Logan Imes was going somewhere. They fired his coach. He opened up his recruiting again too.
And I forget where he was going.
And
I can't think of it now.
I'm really upset because, like we said, I can't go to the store without a list. But I'm pretty good on this stuff, man.
Well, that's what you've done.
Yes.
That's then the experience you had from recruiting at Ball State still carries over.
So Noblesville, Luke Almodovar.
Almodovar.
Yeah,
You tell me.
Luke Almodovar.
Okay.
Cathedral, Xavier Booker.
That's-
That didn't have a great year.
Okay.
He was
And
good.
he's still good.
He was good, and he's going to Michigan State, right?
Right. Yes, he's going to Michigan State.
He's going to Michigan State. Marcus, the aforementioned.
Marcus Burton.
So this is two words that I used tonight that I can't believe you guys didn't pick it up. I used the word vernacular,
Vernacular.
and I used the word of the aforementioned. My vocabulary.
You've expanded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Penn's Marcus Burton, Heritage Christians, Miles Colvin. Now where does that name sound familiar? His daddy played where?
His dad played at Anderson.
His dad played college football at Purdue.
At Purdue.
And played for the Bears and the New England Patriots.
Calvin?
Roosevelt Colvin.
Okay.
Roosevelt Colvin.
Who am I thinking you said was at Anderson?
Scott Calvin, who was played by Tim Allen in a Christmas movie, and he was Santa Claus. Santa Claus 2. His name was Scott Calvin.
Never mind.
I digress. Lynn Stockton's Joey Hart. Valparaiso's Mason Jones. Crown Point's A.J. Lux.
And his dad,
TJ.
yeah. I mean, there's another generation. We remember watching his dad play.
Yeah, I think TJ played at Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right.
Carmel Sam Orm. Now here's a shock to me, and this
is that a little brother?
well. So Northwood's Ian Rosh, who made the team over the much celebrated Cade Brenner. And Ian, I don't know, maybe averaged 14 points a game. Cade Brenner averaged maybe
20 plus, yeah.
20 plus. And everybody would have bet that Cade Brenner would make this team.
Especially after that game he had in the final game.
Yeah, but this is where building the team came in. And I know they sat down and they were in that room and they were saying
all the 6'3" guys they needed.
And they said we needed a couple more bigs. And Ian Rosh is long and he affects the game defensively.
Yes, he does.
And so he made that team. So it's obviously number 2 on the All-Star snubs.
There's Cade Brenner right there. Yes.
Bloomington Norse, Jaquan Roberts rounds out that team.
Bloomington North was very good this year.
Rounds out that team. And when you talk about now you're going to talk about the Crossroads Conference, right? The 6'3" Luke Almodovar from Noblesville going to St. Francis. Cade Brenner going to Huntington.
Right.
Ian Roush going to Indiana Wesleyan.
And there's a couple others going to Wesleyan, I believe, on there. No, it was one of the snubs. The kid from Center Grove.
Marcus Ankney.
Ankney is going to Indiana Wesleyan.
So the Crossroads League is well represented.
They're picking up all-stars
on this all-star team. So and at the end of the day, and I know Don Carlisle is a really, really good coach, but I told Chad Johnston this last year. Chad Johnston, our very own Chad Johnston from South Bend Adams,
yes,
a former Washington head coach, a really, really good high school coach, and Chad coached the All-Stars last year. And as soon as he got nominated, I said, "Congratulations, man! I think that's awesome." But here's the deal. You got the pressure of Indiana on you.
Yeah, you got to win them both.
Because you got to win them both, big dog.
That's right.
And, winning in Indianapolis is a foregone conclusion. Winning in Kentucky.
You got to go down to Owensboro or wherever they play, Lexington or Louisville.
It's tough.
They've been playing at Bellarmine, I believe.
Well, so I remember in 2010 when I coached that game, we played at Bellarmine.
Okay.
And
so they used to play at Freedom Hall.
Yes, yeah, but the attendance was really cut down in Kentucky. But the first 5 minutes of the game, we were getting hammered. The officiating was terrible, and I don't know how many coaches have gotten a technical foul in an
In an
all-star
all-star
game.
game.
But I call timeout. And so what is Kentucky noted for? What's the state of Kentucky noted for?
Horses.
Horses. What else?
Bad referees.
Growing tobacco.
Growing tobacco.
Growing
And
tobacco.
I've got a tobacco story too. Go ahead.
I call timeout, and I call the one cat over. I said, "Come here," because I had this way of staring at him and doing this, and people are looking at me as they're walking by and starting to come here. But I have a habit of sticking that index finger out, saying, "Come here." I looked at him. I said, "Get that chewing tobacco out of your mouth and start reffing this game the right way." So now, in the Indiana High School All-Star game, I get banged. I get banged, and from then on, we get a good whistle.
Yeah, good whistle.
And
That's all it took. Huh?
And we didn't take the lead probably till maybe 3 or 4 minutes in the game. Teron Johnson, who ended up playing at Purdue, was a great player at North Central. He just made some great plays down the stretch, and we ended up winning by 3 or 4. All right, give me your tobacco story.
Well, I was going to look here. I'm looking at some of the neighborhood kids we had here. Ashton Williamson from 21st Century in the area. We're talking about Snubs. We talked about Brenner from Northwood.
Munster.
Brandon Trilly is going to Northern Michigan from Munster. But the rest of these names are Brownsburg, Cathedral, Ben Davis, New Pal, Pike. They mentioned, is it Jaron Tibbs? Jaron Tibbs
Yes.
from Cathedral?
Yes.
He was supposed to be on the All-Star team, but he can't play because he's a Purdue football recruit, and it cuts into his Purdue recruiting time. All right, Southern Indiana story. We moved to Madison. I'm doing driver's ed. We go across the river into Kentucky during driver's ed. I'm driving down here, and it's summertime. The weirdest looking cornfields I've ever seen. Short little corn, big leaves, but there's there's a big stalk, but the leaves are big old fluffy looking things. I'm going, that's like pygmy corn or something like that. And one of the kids goes, corn? I said, Coach, that's tobacco.
That's tobacco leaves.
It was tobacco. And I look, and what's funny is that we had some kids there in the fall that missed school because they got sick because they were out picking tobacco and hanging it in the barns, but they did it in short sleeves. It was a great health lesson because you have to wear long sleeves when you drape that tobacco over your arms because the tobacco seeped through their skin. And, one of the ways that you can take medicine, right? Think about or a tobacco patch, the nicotine patches people have, they put it on the back of their ear.
You put nicotine into your system.
So they got tobacco poisoning from their arms. That tobacco soaked into their blood system through their short sleeves, and they got tobacco poisoning. They were in the hospital getting IVs and stuff, getting their blood levels taken care of.
So those are our 2 tobacco stories from this great show today. Yes.
So there's our Southern Indiana stories.
What about Craig Tego? Speaking of Southern Indiana, so Craig Tego is a Dave McCullough. He comes from the Dave McCullough coaching tree. Dave McCullough and Craig worked together at North Judson, and Craig was Dave's assistant. Dave is a Manchester College graduate, was one of my roommates. So probably got about 800 wins.
So probably the hottest news we've got for you right now is the new coach at New Albany is
Craig Tego. And Craig Tego starts off at Caston, coaches as a head coach at Caston, moves over to Jay County, and is renowned at Jay County. Just won 1,000,000 games.
Yes.
Moved up to Huntington North. And won a lot of games, for the Vikings at Huntington North, and now Craig has taken over for our good friend Jimmy Shannon, and you know what? I don't know if I'd want to follow Jimmy Shannon.
He's jumping right into the pot, that's for sure.
Yeah, and everybody said to me, when I took the Anderson job, so they said you don't want to follow Norm Held, and you know what I thought? Why not?
Why not? Everything's in place.
Yeah, to go get a job at Anderson, I don't care who I followed.
Yeah,
give me 12 basketballs, give me 6 baskets, and I'll go coach.
I think it's a great move on his part. Congratulations to Craig. I coached against him when he was at Caston when I was at North Miami. I was part of the the Caston threesome. Caston won 3 sectionals in a row back before class basketball. Look, and we were in the Logan Sports sectional. Think about this: Logan Sports sectional, final game of the sectional. Caston and North Miami. Place was full. It was hilarious. This was like 1990, 91, whenever that was.
Who was the coach at Caston at the time?
Craig Teagle. He wins the sectional. He's gone.
Who comes in?
They come in, the next coach, and I get them mixed up. It was either Foister or Vince. I can't remember. They win 1 game. They win 1 sectional. They win section number 2. They go over to the Marion Regional. Now, one of them got to the night game of the regional and lost to Marion. And then Marion came up here to Notre Dame and had a good game. I can't remember the years. One of them was a one and done. He wins the sectional. I'm out of here. That might have been Foister. And then he got the Blackford job.
Yes.
And then Vince was one of your guys from Ball State.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the timing if you think about it. When he went from Ball State as an assistant. He comes to Caston, gets his first job.
So
wins the sectional.
And then he's out. He's out to Angola.
He takes over. Yeah, he goes to Angola, and I'm still sitting here at North Miami because I can't win a sectional.
So he takes the Angola job, stays there for a couple years. Then he goes over to Hamilton Heights, is the AD at Hamilton Heights. He moves up to the principal.
Got into administration, didn't he?
And then he takes the principal's job at Lafayette Jeff. He gets the superintendent's job at Lafayette Jeff. He then gets the superintendent's job down in Evansville. He stays in Evansville for 4 or 5 years. I'm getting ready to leave Anderson, and Vince is going to hire me as the AD at Evansville North. And it's like a Friday, and I got to have my retirement papers into Anderson, and I'm going, Vince, is this done? Are we doing this? What's going on? So Vince calls me at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. He says, heck, we can't do it. I said, why? He said, I just got the CEO of Project Lead the Way.
Yeah, he just got some job that was.
So Vince was the CEO of Project Lead the Way, and he's now living in California doing that.
Yeah.
Hats off to Vince, man.
So I was part of all that from the Caston days.
So, and here's a. So I don't mind being a rumor mill. Okay,
do a rumor.
Let's just say that.
Why not? Maybe that'll help us get some more numbers.
So Jason Delaney. Yes. Over at Cathedral, interviewing at Mount Vernon. I can't quite figure that one out because Cathedral is the Mecca. Cathedral is never hurting for money. The boosters, the donors. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they got NIL money at Cathedral, and I'm pretty sure Jason's getting kicked in on some of that. But the rumor was that he was interviewing at Mount Vernon. The Mount Vernon coach got in a little bit of a squabble at the casino outside of Shelbyville. Mm-hmm. They said, we ain't serving you anymore. He said, I'm leaving. And they watched him go.
Followed him down the road.
Weaving in his car. He's picked up DWI. Come on, man. You got to be smarter than that.
Second one. I know.
Hey, give me another question, Mr. Overmeyer.
All right. This comes from Larry down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
All right.
Up in Rocky Top.
Yeah, it's in Nashville area.
Does Tiger Woods ever play in the Masters or any other major again after what we saw at Augusta over the weekend?
Sunday was impressive. Jon Rahm,
yes.
I'm just going to jump on that. Jon Rahm's playing awful good golf right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And I felt bad for Brooks, but
Koepka's playing pretty good golf.
Yeah,
too.
but on Sunday, he couldn't drive the ball.
No, and he really didn't have he had an average day. It just happened. Rahm was like a freight train.
So let's get into Tiger a little bit here. Tiger makes the cut. The cut is at 50, and Tiger's number 50.
Horrible weather,
but he gets to Saturday, and he's got plantar fasciitis, and he's got leg injuries from his accident. It's kind of sad to see Tiger kind of limping around a little bit. Now you mix the leg injury with plantar fasciitis,
and the hills. Augusta's very hilly.
Yeah.
Now it's soft and muddy.
So I don't completely say that no, Tiger will never play Augusta again, because I think if Tiger does some more rehab and gets the feeling better, will he play? I think he still has the competitive fire in him. he made the comment, though. He said, a lot of these guys, man, I don't even know on the tour anymore. And he said, I know a lot more guys on the Champions Tour, which is the over 50.
And if you look at the scores, Freddie Couples makes the cut. He's the oldest man ever at 63, I think. Bernard Langer made the cut. Both of them had horrible third rounds in that bad weather they had on Saturday.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I think to jump to pigtail off what you just said, Tiger will play in the Champions when he turns 50 because he can ride in a cart.
yes, exactly.
He can ride in a cart, and Tiger will be. You watch how the Champions Network jumps to and becomes very, very popular here in the next few years when Tiger turns 50.
All right, John, I think you got one more, man.
One more question. This comes from Andrew in Chicago.
Chi-Town, the Cubs. Oh, stop. Cubbies are 5-4, man. 5-4. They're playing tonight
Against the Mariners.
against the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez, 5-4. Go ahead.
Your prediction on the South Bend Cubs, the reigning 2022 Midwest League champions.
Well, I'll tell you,
Time for first pitch, isn't it?
Just about.
the number two prospect in the Cubs organization, Kevin Alcantara, is a 6'6" left fielder. He came to the Cubs from the Yankees in the Anthony Rizzo trade, and the sky is the limit for him. He's projected to be a really, really good player after he gets some at-bats and some games under his belt in minor league baseball.
He may be an NFL player here not for long in the minors.
Well, I know. And one of my favorite things to do, you and I are going to have to do this sometime. Maybe we'll take John. Maybe we'll see how many tickets we can get. We get 3, we'll take John with us. But I love going to the South Bend Cubs game.
Maybe we should see if we can do our podcast from behind home plate or something one game.
I'll check with my friend Joe Hardup, and I've got a former student who actually works in media relations there. So
We should do that.
I'll check with her. Yeah.
We should check on that. But I love the ballpark
It's
food.
a great place.
I love the food. I love the atmosphere.
For the people that are around here in South Bend, make plans. You got to go to the ball games.
Yeah, no, I think the South Bend Cubs are going to be really good. Steve Berlin, who owns the South Bend Cubs, he's got deep pockets. He's put money into that stadium.
He's getting ready to put more.
And it's a great venue. Hey, it was a good show. We didn't have a guest tonight.
Nope.
We'll go back. We'll have a
Need
guest.
one.
We'll have a guest next week. We're not going to do a Zoom this week because we have a lot of things going on.
Yep.
So our projected schedule next week is Monday night from Bar Louie,
Right here.
and then Wednesday night we'll do a Zoom.
We'll do something
Wednesday
someplace.
night.
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll talk sports. It was fun
try to
seeing
get
you.
a guest.
We'll get a couple guests.
Yeah.
We'll get a couple guests. Great seeing you, John. Great seeing
Nice
you, man.
job.
And hope you all enjoyed this tonight. Check in again. If you didn't see this live, pull up the archives and watch us and know that we have a blast doing this, man. Some of the stuff I say, I know is from left field, but I have a blast doing this. You're the best, Pat.
You're doing well. All right. Had fun.